Thanks, Ville. Welcome to the info session on my behalf too. I got a few slides to go here and then a live demo of a real customer case. So about me, I've been at Solita for three and a half years, and almost all of it I've been using ADE. And now I've been half a year at my current public sector client. I've dabbled with AI before, but previous customer was a bit more conservative with the AI. So only recently I've started to use AI daily at work. And current customer provides the GitHub Copilot license and really wants us to develop and use the AI for their benefit. And around at the same time, ADE team started to develop the agent, and with the word of mouth at the office, we got into the pilot. And this project has been a great learning experience, and I'm thrilled to share it with you. The case is about a report for comparing budgeting and spending of the customer. And they want to enter the budgeting data through a Power Apps platform, and the data entered through the platform is stored in a Dataverse database. ADF pipelines ingest data from source to ADE with fetch XML query. We used a Dataverse connector at first, and then the staging includes 15 tables with few refined views, and then the data vault was also built accordingly. As it turned out, data consistency fails. The fetch XML had a few limitations with null values, and we had to change the whole setup after we had already done the data vault. So as you can imagine, there's a lot of structural changes, and that leads to a lot of clicking in ADE, which then takes a lot of time. So ADA helps in altering tables, parsing JSONs, editing data vault, and all of that sort of things that is, and then it's by using ADA, it increased efficiency and eliminated all the manual clicking in the UI. And how it all works, tenant admins will set up the credentials, these personal external API credentials for each developer in admin UI. And then next you need to initialize ADA and configure all the necessary details for your project. So if you have a custom setup, for example, I have ADA folder directly under project folder, so some folder paths might need to be adjusted for agents to find correct skills and context. Then set up local Git repo for version control, and you're ready to start developing. These personal external API credentials and version control is needed for traceability. So the ADA requires those things for it to work. And with this new agentic workflow, my work moves from developing and writing SQL myself to writing instructions, supervising the agent, validating the outputs, and steering it to right direction when necessary. So all in all, configuring the workspace really plays a major role in this agentic workflow. And next, let's head into the demo. Here we have ADE setup. This is just a demo, so I've created here budgeting staging package, which now only has 3 entities. But you can see there's some basic attributes that you might find from budget information. And here we have the data vault for that. And you can imagine that this would be 5 times bigger with double the size of the tables and a lot more complex, a lot more logic, a lot more attributes and tables. So it's a lot of clicking around if you want to change the whole system, because using the new API or the new source from the REST API, there was some new attributes coming in, and then we had to parse the JSONs, and then there was we had to switch up quite a lot in the data vault because of the changing of the source system. So with this, let's head into the ADE, and I can show my setup here. We got the agent definitions here, which have been provided by the ADE team. The whole thing here has been built by them. And we got these ADA default skills under .agents. Then we got the configuration files here. Obviously, you will put your own setups here. Then when I created the demo, I created some design documents. So for example, here's the data vault design document for budgeting. Then when it created the packages, it created them into this folder packages, and the YAML files look like this. So they have all the attributes and what they are and how they're connected in these files. All right. Then the version control, we got to set up version control on this panel. So just initialize the Git repo locally. You don't need to publish anything. It just needs to be local. And from here, you can see all my commits to this demo. So started from here, and this is how it's going. Great. Next, we can start developing. I have created the new requirements document, so I'm not writing this all by myself in this demo. So we got it ready. And basically what it is, there's some new fields coming in, some refinement in the staging. It's going to create a view as well. So without anything more, let's start developing. From here, I changed to the ADA developer agent and using GPT 5.6. You can use automatic modeling. It's a bit cheaper, but for this demo's sake, I'm going to go with this. Okay. I got new requirements, design, do the edits according to the document. Let's see how it goes. So this part is quite important because obviously it can go into a wrong direction. If it's a older or lighter model, it might not read the whole context files. So it might just check at the first and then start doing something else than requested. And these prompts that it asks me to allow, I want to read that it doesn't do anything ridiculous like go off the workspace and write something weird into a different workspace. And I forgot to mention that for this agent to run correctly, it needs to be running in a virtual environment. So Python is required for it, like probably most tools. Okay, now we can see a few edits that we have here. So there are new attributes in the staging, as well as the same new attributes here. Okay. Great. So it added 9 fields to the YAML, and with the loads as well. So it added them to the data hash tool, and everything seems all right. It did block the view because apparently they want the JSON example, but we'll see if that's fine. Okay, so now it's done the edits. We need to commit them to version control. So this is quite a simple step. Now it's committed, and we can plan and dry run. This dry run means that it's trying, or it's doing this sort of practice attempt at pushing this into the ADE, and that verifies if there would be anything off, like dependency issues or something else. And now it says that it sometimes there's some weird issues that it might say that it's not committed and then tries to use force. I'll get that to later. So it said that staging only workflow succeeded, and it seems all right. So let's push. Oh, yes, I also forgot to mention this part. So now it's running the custom skill that I created. So there's a push without current satellites, and then default attribute waiver, which there are only examples from my client. And these are custom skills that I've created because our project had a bit different configurations, and then we needed to create these workarounds, which work quite well. And whenever a user wants to upgrade ADA, these custom skills won't be overwritten. So these will stay the same no matter what the version is. So that's quite a cool feature. Okay, so now it said that it pushed it to ADE, and let's go check that out. And we can see that there's some changes. It was done by external API worker, which is me. Now let's go add new attributes to marketing. We can see that there's a couple of more of these attributes than at the first glance. And it's successful. So now let's go and do the data vault. Sometimes there might be some issues with dependencies. So if I would do staging and data vault at the same time, it wouldn't know which one to push first. And of course, the staging would be needs to be committed to ADE before the data vault for the dependencies. So it's up to the user to know in which order to do the tasks. And here you can see that it ran into a problem, but because we're using a bit stronger model, it didn't fail. It keeps going and does these changes anyway. And this is actually a good example because now it created these current satellites. It noticed that there are uncommitted Git changes. So it doesn't want to use these. So let's stop here, do the commits, and try again. Here, the push without current satellites created some issues for me before, which I will let you know in a second. But I created this skill, so then these would be not included. This would be excluded from the push. All right. Now it's pushed this successfully. And Okay. Yeah, we can see now that it's also created a few extra attributes. Okay. Unfortunately, it didn't create the views as it had planned here, but I think this is how you get the idea of how ADA works in action. And here's a few reflections. So I think this YAML API is an excellent tool for doing the changes. You can create new or edit old and then commit straight from the VS Code. So I didn't really have to click around ADE that much, actually, not at all. So when automating these trivial tasks, it makes large-scale development very efficient. And then, of course, more time goes into configurations, writing instructions, and supervising the output. So especially this large-scale development is very good. Sometimes smaller scale could be faster and easier to do manually in ADE, but that also requires to pull the manual changes to VS Code or ADA. Yeah, version control that increases traceability. So if something goes wrong, you can figure out the steps how to return to working state. And the more context you have, the more efficient the agent gets. Yeah, custom skills works quite well, I think. So the problem with the current satellites was that it was creating the or editing current satellites as well, which is it shouldn't need to do that because the ADE already does it automatically. So then I had almost 2,000 or something like 2,000 edits on the current satellite. So the push timed out. So that's why I needed to push without the current satellites, and they started to work quite well. And a pro also for me is that it's been a great learning experience for me personally. Then a couple of cons. I told you about a couple of things, but these were in an older version. Now it was version 0.5.3, and I think I recall that I did this task for the customer with the older version 0.4.6. But anyway, a lot of guidance is needed, as with almost or probably all AI tools. So it needs a lot of narrow specifics and definitions and custom skills. And if you have your own project configurations, there's a lot of maintaining of the workspace. Also, sometimes this might depend on the model that you're using, but it does some shady things. So, for example, it tries to push work in progress or bypass missing version control, and you might have noticed, but it suggests using force. So there's this guardrail of version control. Oh well, you don't need to use it. Let's just push by force, which is not the best practice. Yeah, then there's sometimes the YAMLs and SQL files might not be very well connected, but that might be depending on the model, and if the workspace is not well maintained, there might be some crossing guides guidance to the agent. So one skill says do this, and one other skill says do the exact opposite. So as a developer, I need to be very well on top of the workspace and alert when using these AI tools. And that's my demo presentation. Thank you all for your interest and attention.
Hey, thanks a lot, Jaakko. It was really nice to hear what have you done, and also I personally like much these pros and cons slide to see what's your own finds out with working with ADA. Hey, if there are any questions, please ask them in the Q&A section or in chat. I think we have time for one or two questions. Now we have one question from Lisa. So did you tell Ada what column is the hub key and what columns is the satellite attributes? So Jaakko, can you help with this one?
Yes. So quite often it can figure those things out. But obviously I need to pay attention and verify that it has made the correct assumptions. So if I'm not explicitly telling it those things, I at least need to verify that they are there. And if they're not, then I need to tell it.
Hey, thanks for answering on that. In case there are any other questions, you can also reach out anyone on the ADE team, and we can ask from Jaakko then afterwards if there are any that kind of stuff. So time is running out. Just what's happened shortly, what's happening this year still. So we will have a ADE product morning coffee to come in 2 weeks. It's 18th of September. And then also there is coming Solita Summit at the start of the October 7th. So you are welcome to join there. Lastly, I know clock is running over, but I think we have time for one question. So Jaakko, there is still one question for you. Was there already a load and a mapping between the staging entity and the satellite? Were those new columns added to the loads mapping?
Yes, they were. So there was already existing load, and it's included in the YAML. So in the satellite, there is the load. So it's adding it to the attribute list and then into the load mapping.
Yep, thanks. Okay, we are 1 minute over, so sorry for taking your time a bit longer than we estimated. But hey, thanks for joining ADE Info-session and have a nice rest of the week, all of you. Bye-bye.
Bye.